was absent for a variety of reasons. For others, distant there, but maybe not there. For others, abusive, where maybe there was times where he was there and you wish he wouldn't have been there. So you had to bury your father. Some of you are spending the first or second Father's Day without a father. It's a challenging time. We're all in different places, and Father's Day puts us, instead of being an equalizer, it puts us in different places depending on what that relationship is. Whether our father's still with us or is not, what kind of father we had. So it's a challenge to address Father's Day from a pulpit and have something to say to everybody. But I want to start with the history of Father's Day. 1909, in Washington State, a woman by the name of Miss Sonora Smart Dodd, she got the idea of celebrating Father's Day. She was at church listening to a Mother's Day sermon and thought of her father, William Jackson Smart, of Spokane, Washington. He was a widower and had raised 6 children after his wife died giving birth to the youngest child, and so he'd been raising 6 children on his own, and so she had this thought of Father's Day. A year later, July 19th of 1910, the governor of Washington, he proclaimed the first statewide, for the state of Washington, statewide Father's Day. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson, he approved the idea of observing an annual Father's Day. And in 1924, President Calvin Coolidge made Father's Day a national event. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson signed a presidential proclamation that made the third Sunday of June officially Father's Day. And in 1972, it was President Nixon who signed the proclamation making it a federal holiday. And even though it wasn't until 1972 that it was a federal holiday, good old Hallmark has been making Father's Day cards since 1920s. And today, Father's Day is the 5th largest card-sending holiday in the world. So, little Father's Day trivia for you. I want to share with you next a story. It's entitled The Day That God Created Fathers. And it goes like this. On the day that God created fathers, an angel of the Lord stood in the background and watched. Lord, the angel asked, are you sure you know what you are doing? If children are so close to the ground, why are you making fathers so high up? After all, they will have to kneel down if they ever shoot marbles with their children. They will have to lean way over to tuck them into bed at night. And they'll have to bend so far down to kiss them. The Heavenly Father said, don't worry, I know exactly what I'm doing. If I didn't make fathers so high, what would children have to look up to? Then the Lord made the hands of the Father, and they were big and awkward, and the angel asked, have you really thought this through? Those fingers are so big and clumsy. How will they be able to handle the pins of a diaper or unbutton a little button? They'll never be able to take a rubber band off of a ponytail or remove a splinter from a finger. But God replied, relax, they'll be just fine. They're big enough to hold all the things that the young boy takes out of his pocket at the end of the day, and they're large enough to cut the face of a child. God continued on, and he made the legs of a father long and bony and hairy and not very attractive, and then he made broad shoulders, and the angel asked, Lord, do you realize what you have done? You have just made a father without a lap. How is he ever going to be able to hold a child close to him without a child slipping through his legs? But God answered, mothers need laps, fathers need those broad shoulders, so they can pull a sled in the wintertime and balance a bicycle in the summertime and cradle the sleeping head of a child on the way home from church. Then just as God was in the middle of creating 2 of the biggest feet that you've ever seen, the angel said, that's not right. Do you really believe those 2 big feet are going to get up in the middle of the night and respond to a crying child? And God answered, they'll work, you'll see. They are big enough to support a father who is pretending to be a horse while his child is riding to an imaginary castle. They're big enough to wear shoes that will be a challenge for any child to fill. Then God gave the father a voice strong and authoritative. He gave him eyes that could see everything, and yet remained calm and in control. And last of all, God gave the father tears. Then he turned to the angel and asked, "Do you still doubt?" And the angel said, "No more." Well, Father, what does the Bible have to say about all this? What does the Bible say about our responsibility as fathers? So for our outline today, we're going to be looking at three words, three responsibilities of a father. And they all start with the letter P. And these are not the only things that fathers do, but these are three things I want us to highlight today. And those of us who aren't fathers, these are three things that we still want to be mindful of. We want to be thankful if our father did provide them. And we want to be looking. The Bible tells us that religion is pure and faultless, James says, is to look after widows and orphans. And so we want to also be thinking, is there ways we can do these things for those who don't have a father? And so that also needs to be our mindset. Not only challenges to the fathers in the room and the fathers watching on Facebook, but what about the fatherless? Are there ways we can do these things in ways for those who don't have a gift up for them? So the first point is we provide. Fathers provide. Scriptures tell us that one of the responsibilities of fathers is to provide for their family. In 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, Paul writes this. He says, "Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." That sounds pretty harsh, but obviously the Bible stands pretty strongly on this idea we need to take care of our family. We need to take care of our own, especially those under our own roof. We're to provide for them. We're to make sure our children have a home to live in, food to eat, clothing to wear. The Scripture tells us that there needs to be a balance. We take care of the needs of our children, but we need to find a balance. Sometimes when we can become so focused on providing for our children, there's a couple dangers we need to be aware of still. And the first one is the dangers that some fathers have of working so hard to provide, working so hard to make sure that the family has everything, that they have everything except you. Because you're busy working, you're always busy earning and working and doing the things that it takes to provide, and so they don't have you, they don't have your time, they don't have your attention. So the first danger in providing is if we overdo it in that way, and we sacrifice our time with our family. The other danger is to put too much focus on this stuff. You look around and you can see the results, not to point fingers or to judge, you see the results of people who have become materialistic. It's all been about the stuff and how much having the right toys and having the latest things and the best of this and this name brand of that. And we've got to be careful in our providing for our family that we don't create materialistic mindsets. We need to provide, but we need to teach them about working and earning. We need to teach them about delayed gratification. And sometimes good things come to those who wait and work and save. It's not about handouts, but it's about hard work. It's about earning your way. It's about saving up for the good things in life. We don't want to create people who don't appreciate those things like hard work and sacrifice. So while it's our job to provide, we also want to provide a sense of the importance of work. God has always provided for His children, but He never provided too much. You think back to when the Israelites were in the wilderness, and God provided the manna in the wilderness one day at a time, just enough for that day. And only on the sixth day did He give them enough He gave them extra so that they wouldn't have to work on the Sabbath, so they could rest on the Sabbath. He gave them extra on the sixth day. And God didn't put it in their baskets. They had to go out. They were responsible for gathering it and collecting it. We have the responsibility to provide, but we need to make sure our children have what they need and appreciate those things. And sometimes that can be a challenge. To realize that those things come with a price tag, with the price of work. And not only are we to provide for the physical needs, but fathers, we are called to provide for the spiritual leadership in our family. And this can be humbling, it can be challenging. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Thus, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. It's a father's job to bring children up in the training and instruction of the Lord and God's Word. And I know if you're like me, very few weeks go by where we don't think, should have done something more, should have said something different, should have responded differently, said more, done more. It's a weighty burden, responsibility, the idea of spiritual leadership of our kids. But that's not an excuse to not do it. God has grace, so we try to lead our children the way they should go. Another responsibility of fatherhood is to provide that discipline, the instruction, but also to provide an understanding of authority. An understanding of authority in the home because of the ripple effect that has in other areas of life. When children haven't learned how to respect the authority of the home, you see a world full of people that don't know how to handle authority in the world, don't know how to treat people in authority. Not to open a political bag of worms or whatever, but I just cringe at, yes, there are corrupt cops out there who abuse their power. There are a few of them out there, but I just cringe when I see some of these videos and the disrespect and the level that some people treat police officers who are there to protect and serve and risk their lives. And in a lot of ways, we've forgotten to respect those positions of authority. We become a group of people that want what we want and don't want anybody to get in the way of that. And the ripple effect of not respecting authority in the home, and not just respecting authority in the world, authority that is seen, but it's authority that's unseen. Authority of God, our Heavenly Father. And if we haven't laid a model of respect for authority that can be seen, it can lead to a disrespect of the unseen authority. The call to submit to God, the Father. So that is to provide. As fathers and mothers, we provide what our kids need. The second is we protect. The father's job is to protect. Instinctively, most of us have those feelings of wanting to protect our family, wanting to step in, and if anything is going to harm or endanger our kids. That comes by instinct, usually, this idea of protection. And we want to hold our families close and keep them safe and make sure nothing harms them. We want to say to all that is evil and all that could hurt, that you do not come into the door of this house. We want to protect our family. Some of us who are older may recall the Jim Jones tragedy, when hundreds followed him into the jungles and ended up drinking Kool-Aid laced with cyanide and committed mass suicide. In that horrible tragedy, you had mothers giving cyanide Kool-Aid to their children and watching them die before drinking it themselves. Successful people, people with money, parents, people with kids, people with faith, followed Jones into the jungle to die. And it seems crazy to us. It seems bizarre. How could people possibly do that? Well, many of those people were people longing for a father figure who would say that he loved them, an authoritative voice to tell them how to live, to guide, and tell them what to do. They were looking for that leadership, that guidance. They were longing for something that had been missing in their own lives. So fathers, we need to ask ourselves, am I meeting that very basic need of my children today? So they're not looking for a father figure somewhere else. That's one way we protect them, is to make sure that they aren't looking for that protection, that guidance, that leadership somewhere else. Make sure they're being taught the right things, that their minds are being filled with wholesome truths. Protect them from the evil and the false doctrines of the world. So many paths can lead to our destruction. And the enemy doctors them up and they look like they're well paved, they're well traveled, and they look like good paths to take, but in the end they lead to destruction, and we have to teach our kids to know the right paths. So we need to provide and we need to protect. The final thing we need today is we need to pray. We are to pray because we're not really sure how to answer all the questions that fatherhood brings and solve all the problems that our kids will face, or even how to be a good father. So we pray. We pray that God will help us, give us wisdom, strength, and guidance. We pray that we'll be sensitive to what's going on in their lives. Sometimes we know that their problems and the large grand scope of things are pretty small. But we need to be sensitive to what's going on. Their problems are real to them, and we've been there. We need to be reminded of what that was like, to be sensitive to that. Take the time to listen. Take the time to invest. Pray that we be loving and understanding and all the things that a father has to be. So without God's help, I don't see any way that we can be the kind of fathers that we need to shoulder the responsibilities of fatherhood. You probably haven't heard of Brooks Adams. Brooks Adams was a historian. And his father was ambassador to Great Britain. This was under President Lincoln. He was ambassador to Great Britain. And Brooks recalls the best day of his life. The best day of my life when I was growing up was the day that my dad took me fishing. I remember that we talked and spent time together. So time and time again in his writings, and Brooks would recall that wonderful day. You know, he would just kept bringing it up again and again. That wonderful day when he and his father went fishing together. He just kept bringing it up. Years later, a historian was going through the Ambassador Adams papers, just some old papers and stuff after he passed away. They found a diary. And in that diary, the fishing day, the day that he had taken his son fishing, was mentioned in the diary. And Brooks' father had written this. He'd written, "Went fishing today with my son. The day was wasted." He had no clue how important that day was. I wonder how many wasted days have come and gone that were monumental days in the lives of our children and we never knew. I wonder how many things we were going to do and never got around to it. Things we were planning on doing when we had the time to waste. We'll get to those things that might have changed a life, that might have molded a personality, that might have made an impact. So we pray that we're the kind of men that can provide those things. So fathers, mothers, people that have been placed in positions where you can mentor and mold and shape the generation beneath you. We need to look for ways we can provide for the basic needs, to make sure the needs are being taken care of. That is our call. The church has really dropped the ball. The church, in a world where the church was the perfect church, we wouldn't need the state. We wouldn't need the government to take care of our orphans, the needy, the hungry, the homeless. The church would fill that void. So even though we don't live in a perfect world, we can look for ways to do that, to step in where we need to step in, to provide for our children, to provide for the children of the world, God's children. Provide to protect them. And we need to pray as we do all these things. There might be some here this morning who long for a father to reach out and to love them and to forgive them, and maybe those chances have been gone. There's things you wish you would have said, things you wish you would have heard. Maybe some here have never heard or know that voice of authority or that tender discipline and that understanding. Well, only God can provide those things. And so we're going to be, in just a moment, we're going to be singing Song of Invitation. And I invite you, whether you're watching on your screen or whether you're here, if there's the Father's calling you back home. Maybe you've wandered away, maybe you've never came home. But this invitation song is an invitation for you to search your heart. What's your relationship with the Father, with our Heavenly Father? The one that loved us so much, He gave us the greatest gift that we could ever receive. He gave us a place to belong, the kingdom of God. He gave us a family, the church. And all that through His Son, Jesus Christ. Let's pray together. Father God, You are Father. Sometimes we say it too casually, we sing it too casually. But it was groundbreaking when Jesus said, so they asked Jesus how to pray. He said, pray this way, Our Father. And we forget how earthbreaking it was to call You Father. You are our Father. I pray for anyone that does not know that You are the Father that is eagerly awaiting with open arms for us to come to You. Forgive us of our mistakes. Welcome us back into the family. So pray if that is what anybody needs to do today, that You would speak to their hearts, whisper into their very